The attack has triggered an international condemnation and an emergency meeting also of the United Nations Security Council. The U.S. Embassy in Kyiv calling it a war crime. The EU is also considering whether to impose full sanctions now on Russia's oil gas flows. The Biden administration is also under massive pressure to do the same today.
And missile strikes continue to rain across Ukraine. Civilian death tolls on the rise as well as the Russian assault continues. NATO issuing another rejection of Ukrainian President Zelensky's call for a no-fly zone over Ukraine to help stop the bombing. Russia is also gaining new territory in the north, the south, and eastern Ukraine as more residents flee west to neighboring countries.
Let's go live now to Sarah Williamson outside of Kyiv, Ukraine, with more today. Sarah.
Yes, hi Bianca, hi John. That attack on that nuclear power plant that happened overnight really seems to be dominating the headlines here and all over the world today. It is the biggest power plant in Europe and it has been seized by the Russians. But as you mentioned, it is still functioning. Now, the fire that burned throughout the night at the compound was actually in a training centre and not in the plant itself. So the radiation levels there are still normal and the fire has been put out. Now, the management company of the power plant is saying this morning that they are still operating, but they're operating at gunpoint. Now, meanwhile, here in Kyiv, dozens of explosions and air raid sirens have been heard across the city today, with reports of Russian missiles hitting residential buildings in Irpin in the Kyiv region. Now, the majority of these spikes are still not hitting only the outskirts of Kyiv, especially during the day, with Russia still failing to penetrate the city of Kyiv even after 9 days. But the videos in Irpin that we're seeing hitting those residential buildings is just incredibly alarming, considering that Russia still says that they're only hitting military targets. John and Bianca.
I know clearly so many reports of civilians and children injured, Sarah. We've also heard that people on the ground there are hearing that Putin, when and if he does get full control of, say, Kyiv, will put in martial law in many of those cities. And because of that, even if they were too afraid to leave, that these people say, I've got to get out now, even if there was a remote chance that they could not escape.
Well, there's martial law already put in place here anyway, even under the Ukrainian government. Men between the ages of 18 and 50 aren't allowed to leave the country. Only women and children are allowed to leave, and that's who we are seeing leave the country now. So martial law is in place already under the Ukrainian government. People are still, and people are volunteering anyway. That's how the Ukrainian people are operating. Even if Vladimir Putin wants to come in and operate and implement martial law himself under the country, I really don't know how that's going to go down with the Ukrainian people, because they are rather defiant against the Russian troops as it is. We've already seen them put up a fight and stand there in protest against the Russian troops who are already on the ground.
Sarah Williamson live for us in Kyiv. We'll continue to check back in with you. Thank you, Sarah.
We also want to bring in Congressional correspondent Kilmeny Duchardt now. She has more on all this and joins us live now from Capitol Hill. And Kilmeny, there seems to be more members of Congress pressing Joe Biden today to ban these imports of Russian oil.
Absolutely, John. Bianca, on Thursday, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, who chairs the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, along with Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski, said that they're willing to take the heat for a jump in U.S. gas prices as a result of legislation that they've introduced banning Russian oil imports. That legislation has 18 co-sponsors, 9 Democrats and 9 Republicans. Manchin in that press conference, though, also railed against comments by the White House press secretary and deputy press secretary, saying that it was not in Washington's strategic interest to reduce the global supply of energy, saying that it would raise prices for Americans at the pump.
They're so wrong, so wrong. But if there's an inconvenience, because we have to basically change the corporate model of where you get the products to do what they want to do and how they blend, there's other places in the world other than Putin. And when you talk about an inconvenience, Can you imagine if you lived in Ukraine right now? I think it's a little bit more than it. This is life or death.
And in her weekly press conference, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi became the highest-ranking official to support the measure.
I'm all for that. Ban it.
Ban the oil.
Ban the oil come from Russia. Yeah. And I'm not for drilling on public lands.
While the U.S. only imports a small percentage of Russian oil, officials do believe that that would make a significant difference in taking that away from Moscow. Additionally, here in Congress this week, we've been hearing growing calls to make America more energy dependent using its own natural resources, including restarting the Keystone XL pipeline.
All right, Kilmeny Duchardt for us live on Capitol Hill. Thanks, Kilmeny.